welcome to another Explore More session. This is one that I've been wanting to do for quite some time, but things have got a little busy on our side, which is certainly not a bad thing. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce Paul Stoner, who's the golf director. Actually, I think you're the club manager now, am I right?
Correct.
Club manager. So
yeah.
Paul was the golf director for a couple of years. He's now the club manager at Clovelly Country Club, which is my favorite golf course in the Cape region, and I also happen to be a member of the golf course. So yeah, very, very happy to have Paul with us today. Paul, welcome. Thanks for joining me.
Awesome. Thanks, Warren. Thanks for the invite to chat to you today. And as always, it's a pleasure to have good conversations with you, and only wish I could see a bit more of you here at the club, at your home club. Hopefully soon.
You're quite right, but I know I've been wanting to play a lot more golf than I have the last couple of months. I think we all thought after lockdown that we would get out there and play a ton of golf, but it just hasn't happened. No. But we'll see. Winter's the thing of the past. Summer's on the way, so hopefully we can get some good golf in. So yeah, before we start, I mean, I think, as I said, Clovelly's one of my favorite. It's my home. There's really nothing like it in the Cape region, in my opinion. But as club manager and a past golf director, it can't be the easiest place to work, because you drive into an absolute piece of paradise every day. So we want to know, how many rounds of golf do you play a week, Paul?
I'm probably in the same bracket as you. Wishful thinking, and it's always, this week I'm going to get out for a couple of 9 holes, and I never do. There's a lot of things keeping us busy, all positive, and all sort of rebuilding on the other side of what we've experienced as an industry. But I mean, to touch on Clovelly, I've now been here 4 years. I took over the general manager role October last year. I don't think anyone could have scripted what my first year would have looked like, but it was obviously the purpose that I was put here to do it. And just to drive in here every day up the suburban road, it's narrow, there's no pavement. You know, you're kind of thinking, am I going to arrive at anything? And then this expanse of the clubhouse and the course sort of opens before you, right at the end of the Clovelly Road. And it's just one of our unique selling points, is the fact that we're a golf club surrounded by nature. There's only, I think, 2 holes, sort of the 10th and the 11th, that abut onto any form of development, being the neighborhood, and the rest of it is just surrounded by sand parks. So to drive in here every day is an absolute pleasure, and today is probably a day that I should be playing those 9 holes a bit later.
Me too. Maybe I should join you.
Yeah.
I think you touched on exactly what I wanted to mention. The fact that there's no sort of hustle and bustle of the surrounding towns, for me, that really takes the golf course up many notches. You know, all the other Cape Town courses either have a highway or they're in an estate. So there's houses and roads and noise. And the fact that you can walk this amazing course and be surrounded by a beautiful valley on both sides is exceptional. So yeah, I think that for me is just what makes it so spectacular. Obviously, the clubhouse is a thing of beauty too. We go back a few years. I mean, the club has been around for many years, all the way back to the 1920s, if I read correctly.
Yeah, 1920s. And I mean, originally just a farm in this sort of dune landscape. Before that, even access to the Silver Mine River that kept it going. But I mean, to speak to the remoteness, that is, even then at that stage, the main road terminated at Cork Bay. Because of quicksand, and the only way to get into this side of the valley was over Oakharpsweg, the mountain pass on the other side. So it kind of does speak to this remoteness and inaccessibility that we currently sort of enjoy. And in the 1920s, the owners sold to Cape Estates, and they were going to develop it into a residential estate. That didn't materialize because everyone saw it as too remote. And a bunch of sort of enthusiastic naval officers based at Simonstown down the road, along with local golf enthusiasts, sort of put their hands up and secured a lease. And then that's when they started developing a 9-hole course here in this valley fashioned out of dunes. I mean, there was literally tee boxes and greens, and they played with red balls so that they could actually find them in the dunes.
Jeepers. Wow. So
Yeah.
initially 9-hole golf course, developed into an 18-hole course in the mid-30s.
Yes, yeah. So eventually that Cape Estates liquidated, and they went to the members of Clovelly Golf Club at that stage and said, look, if you can get us £1,000, it's yours.
Sure.
They scrounged around to find the £1,000 and managed to get it together. But meanwhile, in the background, there was a bigger movement and plan, which was the partnership of Mike Pevsner and Gus Ackerman, our founders. And they put their resources together with a healthy sum of £3,000 that those members could just not match. And that's when the development started in 1932. They took over, and the official opening day was on the 1st of December 1934, with the first tee shot on the 18-hole golf course with Clovelly Country Club as we know it today.
Sure. Amazing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've read the stories and I've seen some of the old photos. It's incredible, and it's awesome to see how that whole valley has matured. It was a country estate straight away, so I think they built 4 tennis courts.
Yes. Yes.
And when were the tennis courts removed? Because I mean, it wasn't too long ago when they developed the practice facility and the Michelle Golf School.
Yes, so I think that was in the early 2000s. It was motivated by 2 things. Obviously, as you can see, Mike Pevsner and Gus Ackerman, as sort of leaders and founders, they just said, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it properly. That's when they came in with their money and did the tennis courts and the rest. And Gus's son, Raymond Ackerman, a very well-known name in South African households, has been our president for many years. And I think he also shares the same visionary concept. So in the early 2000s, he had a dream of the Olympics coming to Cape Town, and he was actually part of the Olympics committee to try and bring it. And he realized if there was going to be golf in the Olympics, there needed to be a warm-up facility. So that was his little bit of his sort of vision on that side that motivated. But behind that was an economic thing as well. Tennis and bowls at that point was in a decline. Golf was doing relatively well, and a decision was made at an annual general meeting that the tennis and bowls would be dissolved and taken over in terms of the range. We maintained a small clubhouse down there that houses Alan and Mike Michelle, our teaching professionals. They've been here for many, many years as well, and have long ties to the club, representing it on league, and both of them playing on the Sunshine Tour. So yeah, I mean, it's there, it's golf. We're repurposing it and maybe bringing back a bit more of a modern country club feel to it, in changing the range into a mashy course, bringing out soccer posts for the kids to run around and kick on, and enjoy the open and free and safe space. So reinventing ourselves, but it's kind of going full circle.
Yeah, I think the club has done a great job with that, making sure that it is a family environment. And I think the days that you have where the kids go out and do a little mashy course, or they play soccer, and there's the annual cricket match at the end of the year, I think. And
yes, New Year's Day,
New Year's Day. So I think all of that is great, because at the end of the day, golf is a family sport, and we need to encourage the kids to be members eventually. Otherwise, the club will be in a bit of trouble. But Clovelly is very fortunate. We have a good, solid, active member base. How many members have we got now, roughly?
Look, we've had I actually wrote down a couple of numbers here. We've had a phenomenal run since coming out of lockdown, which I think has been seen the world over. And we actually signed up 100 new members from end of June until end of September. Wow. So that took us up to, I think, 1,470. There's about 1,000 golfing members in there, and you're probably looking at 500 or 600 active, which I class as at least once a month as being active. So very, very healthy member base. And they spoke earlier in the history as well of the club at that stage, founded by the naval officers, having this informal feel, and I mean that in the nicest way. I know clubs, you do want to etiquette and all the rest. I'm not saying you mustn't have that in a club environment, but we do have that warm, welcoming, informal feel, and it's something that was there in the 1920s, and it's something that we still keep, you know, with us today. And I think that's what generates that members base, that warm feeling of belonging to a family, something bigger than yourself. And it's really something we as staff embrace every day in how we interact with members and guests. And it's something that our members buy into when they interact with visitors visiting our fairways as well.
You're quite right, and I think that's I sort of give you guys kudos on that, especially for my international guests and for the foreigners that are watching this. You know, you will arrive to a place that will feel like home. I think you and your team do a great job in welcoming members, guests from an international point of view. And my guests have an unbelievable time, and it's not only the golf course, but you know, the 19th hole is spectacular, and the team upstairs do an exceptional job. Let's have a quick chat about the golf course. I mean, it's, as I said, it's definitely has something quite unique in Cape Town because it doesn't have that road noise. I'm going to share the screen and show you a couple of images that you kindly sent earlier.
No problem.
That's not the one. So yeah, we'll flick through a couple of images. You know, I asked you earlier, maybe just to give it some thought, but what is your favorite hole on the front nine, and what's the favorite on the back nine, as a matter of interest?
So on the front nine, I mean, this is a picture of the third here, and it is one of my favorite, and it's there just to show this contrast of nature and course. But my favorite on the front nine would have to be the fourth. It's a testing hole, normally downwind. Every now and then in the rainy season, it can be into the wind, and then it's an absolute monster. But I think that, to me, if you stand up on the fifth tee, and this is probably more aesthetic than playing. It's a great playing hole.
There's the
you
fourth
have
there.
you have to set yourself up. You know, off the tee, you've got out of bounds left. You've got a bunker and a tree line on the right. A very daunting tee shot. You feel like you don't have a lot of space, but if you pick the right club, you can actually lay it up to 150 meters out. You have a longer iron in, but it makes the tee shot less daunting. And then you hit into this green with the dune landscape on the left, also out of bounds and over the water. Demanding approach shot, quite a flat green, so getting your distances right is important. But I think for me, really the beauty of this hole is when you actually stand on the fifth tee and look back over the fourth green, that emerald green contrasting sort of into that gray natural feinbush dune at the back. Every time I play, I stand on that fifth tee and look back over that sort of vista, and just, it mesmerizes me every time. So that's why the fourth has a special place. In the golfing terms, it beats me up every time. But it still looks beautiful.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I've got countless photos of the fourth green from the fifth tee box, because it's so spectacular. So I agree. I think the fourth is awesome. If I thought about my favorite, I wrote down, I love the fourth, but the seventh for me is probably my favorite, and it's mainly because it sets up so incredibly well from the back. It's one of the nicest driving holes on the course. Like, it demands a really good tee shot, especially when the southeast is blowing left to right. And then the second shot into a slightly elevated green, and you can't really see, the green. That makes it so difficult. So I, like you, have chosen a hole that always beats me up. I tend to hit a good drive, but I can knock it close enough to the flag. But so the seventh, I think, is just spectacular. But for people who haven't played the golf course, you can see what we're talking about, the landscape. Yes, it's quite a narrow golf course at times, but it is so playable. It doesn't matter if you're a high handicapper or low handicapper. It's got what it takes to make you enjoy the golf from start to finish.
I think that's a very important marketing thing from our side as well, to get out there, is that, we from humble beginnings in terms of the design of the course. Dr. Charles Montano Murray, he also designed George Golf Club, and there's only so much land. So we've at one point, a lot of people wanted to put championship golf course, next to the name. It's something that we actually don't aspire to do. We're here to challenge the good golfer, but also give the new golfer or the social golfer an equal round and some opportunities at a couple of pars and a couple of good holes. The rough, we maintain it to shorter levels, deliberately to create that and also help with pace of play. We want that friendly environment right through, even on the golf course. So I'm glad you touched on it because it was a point I wanted to highlight as well.
Yeah.
Really playable and enjoyable.
Absolutely playable, and especially now with the new rules, you don't have to play off the back. High handicappers go and play off the front. We want all golfers to actually smile their way around a golf course. And the beauty about Clovelly is it's not particularly long, and even the high handicapper off the front, can get there and thereabouts near the greens for 2. And I think that just makes it a far more enjoyable experience overall. Yes, it's a tough golf course. I mean, this is the 13th on the back 9. So again, it's another hole that looks fairly daunting. But if you're hitting the right club off the tees and you may be leaving yourself with a slightly longer second shot, and even if you're short for 2, you can still give yourself a good chance of going up and down for par. So there are a few good golf holes like this at Clovelly.
And I mean, this one would be my favorite on the back.
Okay.
Wow. I think it's just there's old aerial photos where taken of this, where this bush sort of on the left as we're looking at it now was actual proper leftover dune landscapes. Obviously a little bit infested now, and we're slowly addressing it over the years and hope to restore it back to that natural dune landscape fully over the coming years. But I think it just sums up Clovelly. It's actually quite a simple, hole in terms of its design. It's not long by any means. Into the prevailing southeaster, which gives it its true test. But it's just off the tee here. You can't just pull out driver here. I don't think it's it demands you to think off the tee. If you get that right, the green looks smaller than it is. Once again, you talked about it earlier at the 7th, you don't really see the surface of the green. So you think it's small. But once you've played it once or twice, you've got a little bit of room there. And it's just, for me, a hole that I always have to think on both of my shots. And I enjoy the challenge of it. I enjoy being sort of taken on by it and having to think my way through it under different conditions. Even with no wind, it almost makes it harder, to be honest.
Definitely.
Because then the bunkers on the left start coming into play if you're not into the wind.
That's right.
So it is very difficult in any conditions. You have to rethink it. Downwind, no wind, crosswind, you're always having to think.
Yeah, no, I agree. And those bunkers they seem to be right in the place where I normally hit the ball anyway. So you want to, even no wind, you want to leave it short of that bunker, preferably those bunkers, and have a longer shot in. So I think it's a great golf hole. My favorite on the back, I mean, I'm a sucker for short par 5s and hitting a driver. So like number 10 I love because you can take good risk and reward. But for me, it's number 14. That's my favorite, and it's such a good risk and reward short par 4 or shortish par 4. Downwind, you can take a chance and knock it close to the green or around the green, but it's so narrow and such a tough shot that it is sometimes easier just to pull out a long iron. But I've seen so many people try and just baby one down there, knock it in the water, and then you don't really look too bright. So I'll inevitably
nothing worse than the layup that's in trouble. Yeah,
you're quite right. But so that's a beautiful golf hole. 15 I think is just spectacular. This is a par 5, a really good challenging par 5 with water surrounding the green. Incredible. By the way, these photographs are by the very talented Mark Sampson. So Mark, thanks so much for these awesome images. And there's the clubhouse that we touched base on. This is the 18th hole. Again, a good par 4 to end uphill towards the rather iconic clubhouse. For those who haven't visited Clovelly, the 19th hole and restaurant area are above, on the sort of first floor above the clubhouse. Oh, sorry, the pro shop, which is at the bottom floor. Really, really spectacular.
Yeah.
Another picture
That's
of the
stunning. And I mean, this 15th, the development of it as well. You know, it's not that we pump that water in there or anything. That's just the water table. And it is actually born, it was a short hole, sort of with no outstanding like characteristics or anything. And they bought an excavator just to manipulate the land and create something that was a bit more special. And as they started digging out and moving some of this earth, they got 2 meters down and this water just started coming through the ground. And in that moment, they just said, well, why fight nature? Let's excavate this out and just let the water table do its job to create the feature. And that's what actually how this Peninsula Green was created. It wasn't actually in the original sort of purpose of the redesign. It just happened. Nature made its way. So
wow, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
yeah.
It's a spectacular green. I mean, it obviously makes it a very tough third shot for all golfers.
Yes.
But definitely, you know, it's not small by any means. So you got to just play it carefully. There's another picture of the fourth on the front nine. I love this photo. I know it's a slightly older photo, but it really gives you a good idea of what the golf hole looks from up on the sand dunes. Really
stunning photo, yeah. And there's the 50, yeah.
Here's the 50.
And that's just a vista for the clubhouse. I mean, that's to at least then we get an idea of that top deck area. And you know, the clubhouse has gone through a couple of its own sort of renovations and facelifts in its lifetime. In 1955, there was a large portion of it that was burnt down. It was then rebuilt, and it underwent facelift. I think it was about 15 years ago, so if I'm not mistaken. And that sort of gave rise to this top deck area. We've put the tent on subsequently as well, just for a little bit of extra shading from the sun and the southeaster, which allows you to enjoy that deck sort of year-round, and it's attached to the bar. So, I mean, this evening now, this is my favorite time at Clovelly in this photo, to sit on that deck now after 9 holes or a round of golf, exchanging stories with a drink and looking over the Fishhook Valley and the golf course. Another special moment for me, same as my 5th tee to 4th green.
Yeah, it's truly spectacular. I love it. I had to put a picture of the 7th because this is my favorite driving hole. It's a little difficult to see for those who haven't played the golf course, but it's an incredible dogleg left par 4 that always seems to beat me alive, and it's not because of the drive. It's always the second shot that gets me. So yeah, I think it's a truly amazing golf course. It's really highly revered amongst local golfers and internationals. A lot of our guests, always come back and play Clovelly, not once but twice. So if you are coming out to South Africa and you haven't played Clovelly, I highly recommend including it in your itinerary. We touched on Raymond Ackerman. One of the things that he's passionate about is his golf academy. Can you give us a little idea of what the golf academy is all about?
Yeah, so I mean, I think the Ackermans and the Ackerman family are heavily involved in social responsibility, personally and through their company Pick and Pay, and through Clovelly. And it's something that's been a pillar of Mr. Ackerman's growth and expansion in his life, whether it's business or personally. And those morals and values have come through in the club. And that's why, with the passion for golf and his passion for social upliftment, the Raymond Ackerman Golf Academy was born. And it was an outreach program at first to develop golfers. And like everything, it's morphed and changed. It's, I think, in its 19th year now, almost 20 years going. And at that point, it looked for children with golfing abilities, and could they be developed into good amateur, maybe professional golfers, and golf was at the center. And that's why the name is the Golf Academy. Since then, through many sort of iterations and changes, what became apparent is to take someone out of a disadvantaged area, and we draw from our two local communities here, Ocean View and Masiphumeleli, and to take them out there and just teach them golf. You know, was it really impacting their lives? And that's when the focus started shifting just from golf being at the center to bringing on education and actually more importantly, life skills. And what's happened is you probably got 20% of the program is now golf, and it's facilitated by Michelle Golf, by Mike and Ellen and Dave Matthews. And the other 80% is made up of life skills and education. And the academy used to be based on at the range. It's now housed in our clubhouse on our top floor. They wanted a more formal learning environment, and that also separated golf as an activity for the children to have a break. And up here we have dedicated classrooms. The children are all equipped with laptops, which has helped obviously a bit during COVID, because we all had to adapt during the lockdowns to remote learning and remote working. And they come up, and tutors are brought in for an after school program to educate them and make them better. They still report for school as such at the local schools. This is a support program. And then we do the President's Award as their life skills and their own sort of social outreach program. So they go through those two things. That's the core focus at the moment. And it's been very, it's amazing for me to be a part of it and interact with the staff and the children and to watch them develop and grow. And once they leave, we still allow their alumni to actually withhold membership at the club, to allow them to come back, have their social rounds with their friends, or maybe their grandparents are members in some cases, play in our club champs, represent us in league, and keep them part of the club atmosphere, whether they're a 24 handicap and a good social golfer, or a scratch handicap and can represent us in league. It's really just keeping them part of our Clovelly community and giving them that strong foundation to keep growing.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that's awesome, because in South Africa, we need as much, of this sort of initiative as possible. We've got such a great opportunity to help the youngsters get through their daily grind, and it's not easy for the kids, especially from the local areas. And it's good to hear that they can actually almost see the club as a safe haven, come and learn, and hopefully that gets them through their normal education and really takes them on to the next level. And then also for them to have an opportunity to be members of the club and continue playing golf is truly fantastic.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's fantastic. Yeah, golf is sort of the vehicle and their outlet. So it's nice to see it in that way as well. I think some people tend to take the game seriously, which is good, but we forget about its social aspect in the community being that's actually at the center of golf.
Yeah, I was also very pleased to hear that you've had almost 100 new applicants to become members. I mean, I think that is fantastic, especially in this current economic climate, which is rather challenging for a lot of people, but that's really cool. Just to give you an idea, I've heard in the Scandinavian market, Sweden's had 50,000 new golf applicants into their golfing system, which is just incredible. So that's very, very positive from the golfing market in Sweden. And I hope, South Africa continues, because more and more people are looking for outdoor activities. Golf is probably one of the best outdoor activities. And we're lucky to have courses like Clovelly and some of the others in the suburbs that can really support that initiative. So for the internationals that are watching, you won't believe it, but Clovelly at the moment in summer is around 50 euros a round, which is absolutely incredible value. It used to be a little higher, but the rates have come down. We want people to travel, and we want people to come and play Clovelly, not once, but twice, 3 times, so, around 50 euros for the next summer season, serious value. Paul, you've also got a caddy program.
Yeah, so it's developed over the years as well, where we've kept caddies with us, and we focused on taking the guys we do have and empowering them, upskilling them as much as possible, and focusing on a small core of really good caddies, and keeping it that way. So we like to stay involved with the guys. We involve them in the operation as much as they're part of the team. If it's a staff braai after holotining with all of us, or whatever it might be, if there's an announcement from Mr. Ackerman as our president to the club, they sit in the hall with us. So they really are made to feel part of the team. They're recognized as a valuable component of the experience here for those of our members and guests that do take caddies. And they are the people, they spend more time with the guest at the club than I do. So it is important that they're made to feel part of the team, that they are given the skills and the tools necessary to do that as well.
Yeah, I highly recommend, taking a caddy. If you haven't actually used a caddy in the past, get out there and give it a go. The guys at Clovelly are awesome. They know the golf course backwards. They're certainly going to help you get through the course and possibly, save you a good couple of shots over an 18-hole period. So definitely try a caddy. It's a relatively inexpensive way to help the local guys. So definitely,
I mean, even to share it amongst the 4-ball is fantastic. It doesn't like the caddy has to be dedicated to one person. You can carry anyone's bag, but it's the advice and experience. And I mean, some of the caddies have been with us 30, 40 years, almost their whole lives. They know the history of the surrounding areas. They know the history of the club. It'll just give a nice depth to the experience for anyone joining us.
Yeah, no, I agree. And as a 4 caddy, I mean, for 20 to 30 euros for the 4-ball, so like, 400, 500 bucks, the caddy is going to be super happy with that. And it's a great way to give back. But not only caddies, you've got a whole fleet of carts, trolleys, you name it. So the golf course has everything that the golfer requires. And as I said, at the moment for around 50 euros, serious value.
Awesome.
Great. Paul, listen, I just want to thank you again for having a nice informal chat about Clovelly.
Fantastic.
Speaking about golf, I just want to get out there and play. So hopefully we can get out soon.
Yeah.
Today is an unbelievable day in the Western Cape. But I think I might have to do some work.
yeah, me as well. Yeah, I'll save it. I'm actually playing with the Nomads on Thursday, so I'll maybe save all my shots till then. Yeah.
Yeah, good idea. Good idea. Well, I think just in general, South Africa is open for business. We're well aware that it's tough times out there, but we are ready to welcome as many people into South Africa as possible. All the protocols are in place at the golf club, and we hope things turn, because the international business is a huge part of the tour operating side, but also for local golf courses. So, hopefully things change in the very near future, and we can get all these international guests out to Clovelly, loving the golf course like we do. So cool. Paul, thanks again. I'm looking forward to seeing you soon at the golf club. And appreciate your time, and also just a huge thank you to your team again. You guys do a great job on the ground. We exceptionally thankful for all the effort that you put into making our guest experience top notch. So keep up the good work, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Warren. It's a pleasure. Thanks, man.
All right, man. Cheers.
Okay. Bye.